Whoa! Hey! Crusades are over. Stop fighting.
I must continue to reclaim the Holy Lands. My king commands it.
Yeah, not anymore. Newsflash, you lost. That time's over.
But...
Now then, now that that's over, literally, we begin a new age. The Crusades, efforts by the Christians to reclaim the Holy Land from the Muslims, had ended.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
Well, for the most part. The devastating nightmarish plague of the Black Death was finally over. After this dark age of fighting and social chaos, an age of peace and rebuilding began, the Renaissance. The Renaissance was the rebirth of interest in learning and art, especially that of classical ancient Greece and Rome. It lasted from about the 14th to 17th centuries. Cities thrived, and there was a wealthy merchant class. The Renaissance harbored a new way of thinking called secularism. People now believed they could have fun without offending God. Humanism was developed in this era. Humanism was the view that humans are the ultimate source of meaning and value. God became less important to the people. Church. Me. Church. Me. Me. The most popular humanists were Erasmus, Sir Thomas More, Petrarch, Shakespeare, and Machiavelli. Erasmus wrote in praise of folly, which exposed the inappropriate behavior of people, including the clergy. Sir Thomas More wrote Utopia, which criticized the society of his day and created a perfect state. Petrarch was known as the father of humanism. He was the most important in the recovery of works by writers of ancient Greece. Shakespeare, as we all know, was a great writer of tragedy and drama. Machiavelli wrote The Prince, which was a handbook for rulers, though they didn't really like it. The Renaissance era also re-emphasized ancient Greek and Roman intellectual teachings, including grammar, rhetoric, poetry, moral philosophy, and history. Women in this time were not allowed to study mathematics or rhetoric. Instead, they were encouraged to focus more on poetry and music. One of the most important aspects of the Renaissance was the renewed interest in art. Art in the Renaissance was now made to imitate nature. Humans were the focus of attention. As one artist put it, the center and measure of all things. Many famous artists of the Renaissance period, including Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, and Michelangelo. Art in the Middle Ages was mainly of religious subject matter. The most important aspects were represented as larger than the other figures around it. The figures were stiff and emotionless and were very modestly clothed. They were flat and two-dimensional, and only solid colors were used. The Renaissance changed all that. The subject matter was now more varied, not always religious. The human body was studied by means of dissection. Perspective, shading, and the blending of colors were used to make the objects look more three-dimensional and real. Shadows and light were used to draw the viewer's eye to a particular point in the painting. The most limiting factor to the Renaissance was the Hundred Years' War. The Hundred Years' War, lasting from 1337 until 1453, was a defining time for the history of both England and France. The Hundred Years' War was a result of dispute over the French throne between the kings of England and France. The French monarch died, leaving no sons behind in 1328. Two men claimed the throne, Philip of France, who was his nephew, and Edward III, King of England, his son. Joan of Arc was a well-known heroine of the Hundred Years' War. Joan of Arc believed God had commanded her to drive the English from France. She led the French to victory at Orleans, the turning point of the war, and Joan of Arc pushed the English north. Joan of Arc was captured by opponents of the French king and turned over to the English king, King Henry VI, who burned her at the stake for being a witch. In 1920, the Pope made her a saint. The political system of feudalism ended during the Renaissance. The Hundred Years' War led to the end of feudalism in France. People became more patriotic towards their country and king, and less towards their feudal lord. Monarchs built big, powerful armies, and the power of feudal lords weakened. Not only did the Hundred Years' War play a part to bring the end of feudalism, the Crusades, the bubonic plague, and the Great Schism also did. With the Crusades and the bubonic plague, noblemen died without heirs, and land went to the king. Thus the king got more power. In the Great Schism, the two feuding popes weakened the authority of the Catholic Church, giving the kings the power. Cities and towns were centers of wealth production and creativity. Urban society in the Renaissance period was thoroughly commercialized. Everything had a price. There were two particularly dense areas of urbanization: North Italy and the Low Countries, which acted as the main hubs for international trade in commodities such as wool, woolen cloth, silk, tapestries, spices, silver, and fine armor. With the invention of printing, Venice also came to be known for the center of the European book trade, ideas traveling rapidly via the well-established commercial network. And it was only in the town, with its concentration of skilled artisans, that the manufacture of luxury goods and the complex technology of book production was possible. This, of course, led to a very wealthy merchant class. Commerce alone was not enough to amass the large fortunes, however. The richest merchants also acted as bankers. So let's sum it up. The Renaissance is the rebirth of interest in learning and art. The intellectual achievements focused on Greek and Roman ancient teachings. Art was made to imitate nature, humans were the focus of attention, and they were made to be more three-dimensional. The political achievements were that feudalism decreased and kings gained more power. There was more of a sense of nationalism. The economic achievements were that there was a wealthy merchant class.
Wait, I don't get it.
To my friends who read the blog, pour yourselves another eggnog, 'cause without you I